I'ma wash up in Gennady Golovkin's blood, then dig the hole where the hole's already dug, then bury him.
And come Saturday, I'm gonna Gennady up.
The night of November 2nd, 2013, at the legendary Madison Square Garden Theater in New York City, was filled with electricity and excitement. Over 5,000 fans gathered to witness one of the most anticipated middleweight clashes of the year. On one side stood Gennady (GGG) Golovkin, the undefeated WBA and IBO world champion from Kazakhstan, with a terrifying record of 27 wins, 24 by knockout. Known for his relentless pressure, iron chin, and devastating punching power, Golovkin was already becoming one of the most feared men in boxing. On the other side was Curtis Stevens, the Brooklyn native fighting on home turf. Stevens was known for his explosive power and fearless attitude, promising to bring the fight straight to Golovkin and shock the world. In the build-up, tension ran high. At the press conferences, Stevens taunted GGG, even miming a coffin gesture to symbolize his plan to bury Golovkin's undefeated record. Golovkin, calm and composed as always, simply smiled and delivered his now famous phrase, "Big drama show." Fans knew this fight would not go the distance. Both men were dangerous punchers, and it was only a matter of time before someone fell. Round 1, feeling the power. The opening bell rang, and both fighters met at center ring. Golovkin immediately began cutting off the ring with his trademark footwork, stalking Stevens with calm aggression. Curtis moved cautiously, aware of GGG's power, and tried to establish his jab to keep distance. Midway through the round, Golovkin landed a stiff jab that snapped Stevens' head back, sending a clear message about his strength. Stevens fired back with a quick flurry to the body, earning a cheer from the crowd, but Golovkin remained composed. The round ended with GGG controlling the pace and showing why he was considered one of the most dangerous fighters in the world. Round 2, Golovkin turns up the heat. Golovkin pressed forward with more urgency, doubling up on his jab and cutting off every angle as Stevens circled. Curtis managed to land 2 sharp hooks to the body, momentarily slowing GGG, but it only seemed to anger the champion. Golovkin responded with a heavy right hand followed by a left hook that rocked Stevens. The crowd roared as Golovkin pushed Stevens to the ropes and unloaded with short, precise shots. By the end of the round, Stevens was visibly shaken, his face already showing signs of damage. Round 3, Stevens' best moment. Knowing he couldn't just retreat, Stevens came out aggressively, throwing looping power punches. Midway through the round, he landed a massive left hook that briefly stunned Golovkin, one of the rare times GGG had been visibly affected. The crowd erupted, sensing a potential upset. But Golovkin, showing his granite chin, simply nodded and marched forward. He answered with a brutal right to the body that took the wind out of Stevens and followed with a flurry to the head. Despite Stevens' effort, Golovkin re-established control by the round's end, proving that even Curtis' best wasn't enough to stop him. Round 4, the knockdown. Golovkin began the 4th round with cold, calculated pressure. He trapped Stevens near the ropes and set him up with a jab before unleashing a perfect right cross followed by a devastating left hook. The punch landed flush, and Stevens fell flat on his back, staring wide-eyed at the ceiling in shock. The crowd exploded in disbelief. It looked like the fight might be over right then and there. Somehow, Stevens beat the count, rising on unsteady legs, his determination carrying him through. Golovkin moved in for the finish, hammering Stevens with power shots, but the bell rang to end the round. The image of Stevens' stunned expression became one of the most iconic highlights of GGG's career. Round 5, Survival Mode. Stevens came out showing incredible heart, trying to keep Golovkin off with looping counters. But GGG was methodical, targeting the body with hooks and uppercuts that echoed throughout the arena. Every punch seemed to sap Stevens' energy. Although he landed a few clean shots to remind Golovkin of his own power, Curtis was clearly in survival mode by the round's end, breathing heavily and retreating under pressure. Round 6. Relentless Assault. Golovkin's dominance was now overwhelming. He cut off every escape route, forcing Stevens into corners and punishing him with perfectly placed combinations. GGG mixed up his attack, heavy body shots to bring Stevens' guard down, then snapping headshots to follow. The champion's precision was surgical, and Stevens' face was marked with swelling and bruises. The crowd alternated between roars of excitement for Golovkin's performance and admiration for Stevens' bravery. Round 7. Fighting on heart alone. Stevens came out for round 7 determined to show he wouldn't quit. He landed a strong right hand that momentarily slowed Golovkin and earned loud cheers from the Brooklyn crowd. But GGG smiled, unhurt, and immediately went back on the attack. Midway through the round, Golovkin trapped Stevens on the ropes and unleashed a flurry of power punches. Stevens absorbed shot after shot, somehow staying upright through sheer willpower. By the bell, his legs were shaky, and his punches had lost most of their snap. Round 8. The beginning of the end. Golovkin continued to break Stevens down systematically. His jab was like a hammer, setting up brutal combinations. Every time Stevens tried to move or clinch, GGG created space and punished him with short hooks and uppercuts. The referee and Stevens' corner were both watching closely, knowing the end was near. The challenger's face told the story: swollen eyes, a busted nose, and exhaustion written all over him. Round 9. The stoppage. Golovkin came out determined to finish the fight. He immediately drove Stevens back to the ropes and unleashed a merciless barrage. Crushing body shots, vicious uppercuts, and thudding hooks. Curtis barely threw back, trapped and overwhelmed. With Stevens defenseless and the punishment mounting, the referee stepped in and waved off the fight, ending the bout at 2:31 of round 9. Golovkin calmly raised his hands in victory, as the crowd roared its approval. Stevens, though beaten, received a standing ovation for his incredible courage. Aftermath and legacy. This fight was a defining moment in Golovkin's career. He had faced a dangerous puncher, absorbed his best shots, and systematically dismantled him with relentless skill and power. The fourth round knockdown became one of the most replayed highlights in boxing, a testament to Golovkin's destructive ability. Analysts praised GGG's footwork, timing, and composure, noting how he controlled every aspect of the fight from start to finish. Stevens, though defeated, earned massive respect for his heart. Most fighters would have stayed down after that brutal knockdown, but he fought on, giving fans a thrilling display of grit and determination. His bravery turned the fight into an unforgettable classic.
I'm ready. I believe in my skills and I'm very confident with how strong I am.
A lot of people tried to tell me, do you even know who you're stepping into the ring with?
I believe in me. I had a long trip to this moment, and now I have to do my job.
No one considered him dangerous. You could tell by the belt shining on his opponent. But in the ring, he proved once again who he truly is. Las Vegas. T-Mobile Arena. May 7, 2022. On this night, it was not just a great champion stepping into the ring. Saul Canelo Alvarez entered the ring, the biggest star in modern boxing, the undisputed world champion at super middleweight, a fighter who had already collected titles across multiple divisions and was widely regarded as one of the best, and for many simply the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. He had been moving up through weight classes, taking belts, defeating champions, and creating the impression that he controlled the entire sport. Before the fight with Dmitry Bivol, Canelo had a record of 57 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws, and in November 2021 he became the undisputed champion at 168 pounds after defeating Caleb Plant. With that status, he took on a new challenge, moving up to light heavyweight to try to capture another major title. Across from him stood Dmitry Bivol, the WBA light heavyweight champion. Without the same level of media noise, without the same scale of fame, but with something that in boxing is often more dangerous than popularity: discipline, a cold and controlled style, extremely clean technique, and a strong sense of distance. At the time of the fight, Bivol held a record of 19-0 with 11 knockouts. He had already been a world champion for several years, yet outside the close boxing community he remained underestimated by many. That is why the poster looked like a global superstar facing another champion. But within boxing, many understood this was not just another defense or a glamorous night. It was a very difficult fight for Canelo. At stake was the WBA light heavyweight title held by Bivol. For Canelo, this fight was a chance to become a world champion at 175 pounds for the second time in his career. He had previously moved up to that weight in 2019 and knocked out Sergey Kovalev to win the WBO title, which he later vacated. So for Alvarez, this was not a random gamble but another attempt to prove that his level allowed him to secure major victories even in heavier divisions. For Bivol, it was a chance to defend his belt against the biggest name in boxing and finally step out of the shadows. And if you look at this fight not through posters but through boxing itself, the intrigue was much deeper. Canelo was no longer just a puncher. He had become a master of timing, counterpunching, disrupting an opponent's rhythm, body movement, and short explosive combinations. His style relied not only on power but on the ability to read mistakes. Canelo made opponents miss and then punished every error. His defensive work with the torso, head movement, slips, and body shots was especially dangerous, breaking the tempo even of very durable opponents. Before the fight with Bivol, he looked like a fighter capable of adapting to almost anyone. But Bivol was a different kind of challenge. His main weapon was not a single magical punch but the entire structure of his boxing: the jab, distance control, footwork, straight punches, control of space, and the ability to throw combinations without losing balance. ESPN specifically highlighted his outstanding jab, sense of distance, and 5- and 6-punch combinations that not only disrupted Canelo's rhythm but actually punished him during moments of engagement. Bivol did not rush, did not throw unnecessary punches, and did not engage in pointless exchanges. He built the fight in a way that reduced the sharpness of Canelo's strengths even before the moment of attack. That is why the road to this fight looked so fascinating. Canelo entered it as the undisputed champion at super middleweight and effectively the center of the boxing world. In early 2022, ESPN reported that he had finalized an agreement to fight Bivol on May 7th and was then expected to face Gennady Golovkin in their third fight. The idea was clear: first a risky challenge in a higher weight class, then a return to the great trilogy. That made the fight with Bivol even more significant. Canelo was not simply defending his reputation, he was building the next chapter of his legacy. Bivol, meanwhile, came into the night undefeated, holding the title but not the status of a public favorite. He was often viewed as a technical, intelligent champion, but not a particularly flashy one. Yet boxing analysts repeatedly warned that exactly this type of opponent could be the most uncomfortable for Canelo. Tall, disciplined, with a strong lead hand capable of maintaining his pace for all 12 rounds and rarely giving clean openings for counterattacks. After the fight, ESPN noted directly that Bivol used his advantages in size, distance, and the jab from the very first bell. Las Vegas is used to big names. But when Canelo fights, the atmosphere is always different. It is not just a main event. It feels like the moment when a fighter who usually dictates the entire fight is about to step into the ring. The first minutes seem to push the story in that familiar direction, Canelo searching for moments, forcing his opponent to think, applying pressure, attacking the body, gradually gathering information and preparing a turning point. But this night was not about the usual script. Round 1. The first round began cautiously, but important details appeared immediately. The fighters met in the center of the ring, studying each other, and Canelo did throw more early on. However, Bivol looked comfortable from the start. He worked the jab well, answered with combinations, and did not look intimidated or thrown off rhythm. In the live coverage, The Guardian described the round as close but clean for the champion, meaning Bivol. One thing was already clear. Bivol was not there simply to survive. He was there to build his own fight. Round 2. In the second round, Canelo responded strongly. He began landing around Bivol's tight guard more often, caught the chin with a hook, landed a clean uppercut, and looked more convincing in the power exchanges. Bivol increased his combination work, but not everything landed clean. Many reports gave this round to Canelo, and it felt like the moment when the Mexican star was beginning to find the distance. His familiar traits were visible: a short burst, a pause, and reading the opponent's reactions. Round 3. The third round became very important because it showed that Bivol was not just observing and collecting information. He started imposing his own structure. He landed well to the body with the right hand and then brought the attacks upstairs, working behind combinations of jabs and straight punches. The Guardian noted that Bivol's hand speed began to trouble Canelo, although Canelo also worked the body effectively. The fight had not fully turned yet, but the message was clear. The 175-pound champion was not only absorbing Canelo's punches, he was answering with volume and precision. Round 4. In the fourth round, Bivol continued finding success with the jab from distance. He used his reach well, stepping into range only when it made sense, mixing body attacks with shots upstairs. The Guardian noted that Canelo's face was already beginning to redden from the steady work to the head. Alvarez did apply pressure and landed a good right uppercut late in the round, but the overall picture was becoming clearer. Bivol was dictating the geometry of the fight. He was not allowing Canelo to execute his usual rhythm at a comfortable distance. There is also an important historical detail here. ESPN later reported that all three judges gave Canelo the first 4 rounds, which is one reason why the official score of 115 to 113 looked much closer than the actual flow of the fight. Officially, Canelo had started well on the scorecards, even though many live reports and analysts were already seeing Bivol's edge earlier. Round 5. The fifth round became one of the key turning points. Canelo continued pressing forward, but a problem was already visible. He could not maintain the same attacking tempo for long stretches. Bivol caught him near the ropes and unleashed a long combination of 7 or 8 punches, several of which landed cleanly. It was a telling moment. Normally, opponents become nervous near the ropes against Canelo. Here, it was Bivol who looked calm, confident, and emotionally controlled. He was not afraid of the ring position. Instead, the ring was becoming uncomfortable for Canelo. Round 6. The sixth round remained high quality and tactical. Bivol continued to use his footwork, intelligence, and size, avoiding clear openings. His activity dipped slightly during this round, and some reports awarded it to Canelo. But even in that type of round, it was no longer possible to say that Alvarez fully controlled the center of the fight. Instead, he had to work extremely hard for every successful moment. At this stage, The Guardian also cited interim CompuBox statistics showing that after 6 rounds, Bivol had significantly higher accuracy and more total clean punches landed. Round 7. The 7th round made it even clearer that Canelo was in a difficult night. Bivol continued neutralizing him with size, movement, and rhythm. The Guardian wrote directly that Bivol was beating Canelo to the punch, and that his stiff jab had become the foundation of the entire fight. From the outside, it no longer looked like a temporary issue. It looked systematic. Canelo kept searching for moments, but those moments became harder to find when the opponent refused to open up and constantly answered with combinations. Champion was putting on a near-perfect performance. Round 8. The 8th round was one of the brightest moments of the fight for Bivol. The Guardian described it bluntly. Canelo was in trouble. Bivol began pushing the smaller fighter backward around the ring, while Alvarez retreated, missing punches and looking frustrated and fatigued. Bivol landed a big right hand that forced Canelo back to the ropes. At that point, the debate about small details no longer mattered. The light heavyweight champion was putting on a near-perfect performance. Round 9. The 9th round became a brief comeback attempt for Canelo. He pressed Bivol to the ropes, increased his output, and landed some good punches. But there was a problem. As The Guardian noted, even this good round for Canelo cost him significant energy, while Bivol, who absorbed the pressure, still had more fuel left for the championship rounds. This may have been the key psychological moment of the fight. Canelo was still fighting, still trying to take back initiative, but to win he now had to invest far more energy than he was used to spending against elite opponents. Round 10. The 10th round returned the fight to Bivol's rhythm. The Guardian summarized it simply: another round for Bivol, complete control, and Canelo now needed a knockout. CBS described this stretch as extremely strong for the champion. Bivol combined well, worked behind the jab, caught Canelo while he was retreating, and did it without unnecessary risk. It was not a wild exchange. It was technical superiority at a high tempo. Bivol was not just outlanding Canelo. He was making him look uncertain. Round 11. In the 11th round, the situation became even tougher for Alvarez. Bivol absorbed his power punches with defense, answered with cleaner and heavier shots, and visibly frustrated Canelo. During this stretch, there was a moment when Canelo lifted Bivol almost into the air during a clinch, a clear sign of frustration. Both CBS and The Guardian emphasized that Bivol continued to win the round through defense, combinations, and clean work. This was no longer simply a lead on the scorecards. It felt like the light heavyweight champion was controlling even the psychology of the fight. Round 12. In the 12th round, Canelo tried to save the fight. He moved forward knowing the decision might not be in his favor. But Bivol did not fall apart. The Guardian wrote that he continued landing cleaner and harder punches while Canelo never found an answer to the jab. CBS added that Alvarez's early pressure broke against Bivol's defense, and the champion forced Canelo backward again with jabs and counters. It was a finish where Bivol did not merely survive to the bell. He closed the fight confidently. Then came the official result. Dmitry Bivol defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision. Official scorecards: 115 to 113. 115 to 113, 115 to 113. Bivol retained the WBA light heavyweight title. For Canelo, it was only the second loss of his professional career and the first since his fight with Floyd Mayweather in 2013. ESPN specifically noted that the scorecards appeared much closer than the actual fight.
I have a message for people who bet on me today, who won.
This British boxer showed a disrespectful attitude toward his opponents.
You going down in the 8th round, the lucky number for the Chinese. You are going down in the 8th round.
He considered himself a dangerous puncher.
I'm physically gonna come there and take it off you. Do you know what I mean?
But one day, he deeply regretted his actions. February 18, 2012. Munich Olympia Halle. This was not just a WBC heavyweight title defense. It was a story where boxing mixed with provocation, scandal, disrespect, and then with cold, brutal punishment in the ring. On one side stood Vitaly Klitschko. At the time, he was 40 years old. He was no longer just a champion, but a symbol of an era. Tall, awkward, extremely durable, disciplined, with a reputation as a fighter who breaks opponents not only physically, but psychologically. He entered the fight with a record of 43 wins, 2 losses, 40 knockouts. He was the reigning WBC champion and was making the 8th defense of his title during that championship run. His younger brother Vladimir simultaneously held the other major belts in the division, and together the Klitschko brothers effectively controlled the heavyweight division. On the other side was Derek Chisora, known at the time as a tough, stubborn, physically strong, and very awkward British challenger. But even more, he was known as someone who could turn any fight into chaos. He entered the bout with a record of 15 wins and 2 losses, was a former British and Commonwealth champion, and although he had already lost to Tyson Fury and Robert Helenius, many considered the defeat to Helenius highly controversial. For Chisora, this was a chance to change his career in one night. There is also an important detail. The path to this fight was complicated even before the contract with Vitaly was signed. Originally, Chisora was supposed to fight Vladimir Klitschko, but that bout fell through twice due to injuries and scheduling changes. After that, Chisora fought Fury and Helenius, lost both, but still remained visible enough and controversial enough to earn a shot at the older Klitschko. So he entered the fight not as a flawless contender, but as someone who had already experienced both defeat and controversy. Before the fight, Chisora behaved as aggressively as possible. He promised an upset, talked loudly, provoked constantly, and tried to disrupt Klitschko psychologically. But the real scandal erupted at the weigh-in. During the stare-down, Chisora slapped Vitaly across the face with an open hand. This was not a joke or typical trash talk theater. It was a public slap to the champion. Vitaly did not respond immediately, but calmly made it clear the answer would come in the ring. After that, the WBC fined Chisora for unsportsmanlike conduct. But even that was not enough for him. On fight day, there was another dispute over hand wrapping, which delayed the main event by about 20 minutes. And when the tension was already at its peak, Chisora escalated things further by spitting water in Vladimir Klitschko's face just before the introductions. In the span of a single day, he had slapped the champion, created controversy around the rules, and openly disrespected the champion's brother. By the time the bell was about to ring, the atmosphere was no longer just hostile, it was toxic. Round 1. The opening of the fight immediately showed the key difference between them. Chisora came out highly charged, intent on applying pressure, closing the distance, and forcing Klitschko to fight not at range, but in uncomfortable close quarters. But from the very first seconds, Klitschko did exactly what a champion should do: calm, composed, controlling distance, using his footwork, the jab, and straight punches on the counter. Chisora tried to push the pace, but already in the first round it was clear that to land clean on Vitaly, he would have to get through reach, precision, and experience. The first round goes to Klitschko. Round 2. In the second round, Chisora continued doing what later earned him respect even in defeat. He did not break mentally, did not wait, and did not abandon the pressure. He kept moving forward, using head movement, trying to get inside Klitschko's long reach, targeting the body, and attempting to make the fight messy. But Vitaly still controlled the picture. He did not panic, did not engage in a brawl, and simply met the challenger with straight punches while controlling space. A close round, but due to cleaner work and control, again Klitschko.
Там какая-то болельщица с флагами в руках. Посмотрите, неистовствует. Удар пока еще не ложится в цель. Он избрал такую технику или тактику Чесора. Подойти на ближнюю дистанцию и либо боковые.
Round 3. The third round exposed Chisora's main problem in this fight. He was aggressive, brave, and fully committed, but against a champion like this, aggression alone was not enough. Vitaly was already reading his rhythm. When Chisora closed the distance, Klitschko either stepped back half a step or met him with a right hand. At this point, the fight looked exactly as bookmakers and analysts had predicted before it began. The challenger is trying, but the champion is taking the rounds through discipline. Round 4. One of the key rounds of the entire fight. After this stretch, Vitaly later said that from the fourth round onward he was essentially fighting with only his right hand due to a left hand injury. This is a very important detail for understanding the bout. From that point on, he was not just outboxing Chisora, he was doing it in less than ideal physical condition. Even so, the round itself did not look like a disaster for the champion. He still controlled the action with precision and experience, but it became clear that the fight was turning more physical and demanding than expected for what was supposed to be a routine title defense. Round 5. The fifth round was classic Vitaly Klitschko at work. No unnecessary movement, no emotional exchanges, no rush to punish every provocation. Instead, a cold and calculated breakdown. Chisora kept pressing forward, but Klitschko punished him with straight counters, especially the right hand. It would be wrong to say Chisora looked helpless. He was fighting, enduring, and trying to respond. But the champion was now clearly building his advantage round by round.
Назревает сейчас самое интересное бой.
На самом деле, это зависит не от
Кидается отчаянно, Чижора кидается. Вот эти такие атаковать Чесора и каждый раз. А вот здесь смазанный удар был такой.
Round 6. In the 6th round, Chisora remained dangerous mainly through his pressure. His plan was clear. Prevent Klitschko from working at a comfortable pace, tie up the action at times, attack the body, and catch the head with hooks at close range. And he did have moments. But the problem was that Vitaly looked like the fighter who understood the fight better almost the entire time. He knew when to step back, when to throw a single sharp punch, and when to shut down his opponent's attempts to build combinations. Another championship round for him. Round 7. The 7th round is very important for the story of this fight, because this is where it becomes clear. Chisora did not come just to make noise. He was truly ready to go the full distance and forced Vitaly to work. But at the same time, something else became even clearer. Chisora was not breaking Klitschko's system. He was not taking control. He was not forcing the champion to abandon his style. Yes, the fight was intense. Yes, the challenger was relentless. But the champion was still ahead in almost everything that mattered: clean shots, distance, composure, and control of the pace. Round 8. This is one of Chisora's best moments in the entire fight. The 8th round was widely considered one of his strongest. He managed to get inside, worked more actively to the body and head, forced Klitschko to move back, and created the feeling that the challenger was fully in the fight. This was the stretch where it became clear. Chisora was not just surviving, he was making it hard. But it is important not to overstate it. This was a good round for the challenger, not a turning point in the fight. Many gave Chisora one of his few clear rounds here.
Он намного активнее, во-первых, и, наверное, ударов-то он нанес
И зал поддерживает Виталия.
25 секунд до конца.
Round 9. After a strong 8th round, it was critical for Chisora to build momentum. But this is exactly what separates champions like Vitaly from everyone else. They know how to shut down an opponent's surge. In the 9th round, Klitschko regained control. Not necessarily in a flashy way, not through explosive combinations, but through structure, through distance, through the right hand, through understanding exactly when to stop the challenger's attack. And this is probably one of the clearest answers to how Klitschko dealt with Chisora, not with emotion, but by removing any real hope of a turnaround. Round 10. The 10th round already looked like a stretch where Chisora needed something big. A knockdown, a powerful surge, or a serious breakdown in the champion's rhythm. but Klitschko gave him no such chance. He continued to work with discipline, meeting the challenger and refusing to let the fight turn chaotic. Chisora remained brave and durable, but it was becoming clear that he did not have enough rounds to win on the scorecards. The champion had already secured too much of the early and middle stages of the fight. Round 11. The 11th round was no longer just about technique. It was about character. Chisora did not fall apart, did not quit, did not stop. And because of that, some even said after the fight that he gave Vitaly one of his toughest bouts in a long time. But the problem for Derek was different. Courage does not equal victory. In this round, Klitschko once again did what he had been doing all night, imposing a fight where the challenger had to spend more energy than he was getting back in return. Another round that logically goes to the champion. Round 12. The final round was revealing for both fighters. Chisora pushed forward, knowing that being passive would not save him. He tried to finish strong, applying pressure and working effectively again, and the 12th is often considered one of his better rounds in the fight. But it no longer changed the overall picture. Vitaly held his ground, responded, did not surrender control, and took the fight to the final bell. It was a hard, intense, and emotional fight, but not one where the outcome was ever truly in doubt. After 12 rounds, the judges awarded victory to Vitaly Klitschko by unanimous decision, 118 to 110, 118 to 110, and 119 to 111. That meant Klitschko won convincingly on the official scorecards. Yes, Chisora fought bravely. Yes, he made the champion work. Yes, he showed toughness and character. But the championship level in this fight still belonged to Vitaly. He did not knock Chisora out, but he did something that can be even more painful than a knockout. He made a loud provocateur lose widely, in front of the entire world, after everything he had done. How Alexander Usyk faced the most dangerous knockout artist in boxing history.
His record? Perfect. 19 fights. 19 wins. All 19 wins coming by way of knockout. He is a two-time Olympian. He is making his 8th world title defense. He is boxing's only world champion with a 100% knockout ratio. He is the reigning, he is the defending WBC, IBF, WBO light heavyweight world champion, and representing Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Arthur Beterbiev.
Today, these two represent an almost impossible fight in professional boxing. Alexander Usyk is a historic champion who has long moved far beyond the weight class where he once crossed paths with Arthur Beterbiev. And Beterbiev is the embodiment of pressure and brutality at light heavyweight. A man who spent years building a reputation as the division's most relentless enforcer. And here's the paradox. In the professional ranks, they can't meet. But in the amateurs, they already delivered a trilogy that most fans never properly broke down. And most importantly, the scoreline in that series is perfect for storytelling. Beterbiev wins the first fight. Usyk takes the next two. Today, we rewind the clock and look back at how it unfolded. 3 meetings, 3 different contexts, different weight realities, and one shared constant: either man ever abandons his style. This matchup in the professional ranks looks like something fans draw in their imagination, but reality is harsh. Usyk moved up through weight divisions and established himself at a completely different level, with a different physical profile. Beterbiev built his career at light heavyweight, and even when people talk about him moving up at his peak, the equation becomes entirely different. And that's exactly why their amateur fights are gold. That's where they meet within Olympic-style boxing, where scoring, tempo, and tactics work differently. And there you can see things we rarely witness in the professional ring. How Usyk neutralizes a power puncher without turning the fight into a war on the inside. And how Beterbiev tries to impose pressure on a technician in moments where technicians usually glide away. Artur Beterbiev is not just a puncher. His amateur foundation was elite: medals at world and European championships, gold at major international tournaments. Ultimately, he reached the quarterfinals of the 2012 Olympic Games. His style was shaped long before the professional ranks. Constant pressure, physical presence, consistent body work, and most importantly, psychology. The opponent has to feel that even retreating is another form of punishment. And here's an important detail for our story. In both 2011 and 2012, he lost to Usyk by the same score, 13-17. That became a defining point for him, as the same future Olympic champion stopped his run twice. Oleksandr Usyk in the amateur ranks was not a mythical, unbeatable fighter from day one. He developed over time, went through a long learning process, and on the biggest stages grew into the fighter the world would later come to know. Key facts that matter for the narrative. In 2011, he won the World Championship at heavyweight, 91 kilograms, the same tournament in Baku where he defeated Beterbiev. In 2012, he captured Olympic gold, and standing in his path to that medal was Beterbiev. Specifically in the quarterfinals, Usyk's amateur style is exactly what would later define his professional version. Constant movement and footwork tempo, distance control, precise timing, and highly pragmatic discipline. He doesn't fight beautifully, he fights correctly. And it is precisely against Beterbiev's pressure that this discipline becomes the key. 2007. The Russia vs. Ukraine tournament. Amber gloves. Not the Olympics, not a world championship, but at this level of amateur boxing, it carried real meaning, country versus country. There was no room for weakness here, because every round was judged not only by coaches, but by the selection system, reputation, and a fighter's future place on the national team. 2 young, hungry, yet already dangerous fighters stepped into the ring. Artur Beterbiev, more physical in his approach. Oleksandr Usyk, more mobile, but not yet the endless motor the world would later come to know. In this format, Beterbiev did what he has always done. He didn't try to outbox technically. He tried to force his opponent to work under discomfort. This is an important point for viewers to understand. In amateur boxing, pressure alone can win a round even without a knockdown, if one fighter looks like he's constantly retreating and unable to respond in time. And that's exactly how Beterbiev won the first fight. Open sources report that he took the victory on points, and Beterbiev himself has confirmed in interviews that he defeated Usyk at the 81 kilograms division during the tournament in Russia. The head-to-head score became 1-0 in favor of Beterbiev.
сборная команда не готовилась специально к этому туру мира. Это такой проходной этап. И здесь знаете, действительно, я думаю, что я буду прав, скажу, левый сбоку, очень сильный удар у него. За счет того, что есть движение, есть желание, а комбинация немножко поактивнее, то, что Петербиев боксер, который хорошо...
После первого раунда 4-3. Всего одно очко преимущество минимальное. Вот уже...
Видите, ударил и сильно ударил. Ну поставь, брось, два брось, а потом атакуй. Раз-два. А вы знаете, вот я говорю, что он не включает... И думает, ну что же я не могу взять его, просто поставить в угол, отойти к...
Непонятно и неясно.
В процессе подготовки к чемпионату мира.
Минимально 7 начинают боксеры. 8 счет раз. Может решить здесь один точный удар.
Дорогие друзья, это тренировочный бой. Выводы Петербиева. Вот. Ну, это значительно решающего. Что ты на него смотришь? И он на него смотрит и думает, как надо бить с угла. То есть...
Называется, вырывает победу наш...
Кто вырывает?
October 4th, 2011. Baku. IBA World Championships. Quarterfinal. Heavyweight division, up to 91 kilograms. The stakes here were enormous. Not just a victory, but a chance to secure a medal at the World Championships and move closer to a world title. This was no longer a youth, country versus country matchup. This was the global stage, where both fighters were already considered elite contenders at their level. In amateur boxing of that era, fights were often judged by three key elements: who landed the cleaner punches, who controlled the tempo, who made the judges see dominance. Beterbiev moved forward, as always. Usyk did what an Olympic-style technician does. He met attacks, shifted angles, and refused to stay on the line of fire. You can frame it beautifully like this. Beterbiev wanted to break the fight. Usyk wanted to dissect the fight. And the result was official. Usyk won 17-13. The series was now tied at 1-1.
Из разных сложных ситуаций валили, и это не говорит о том, что мы перехвалили Артура, просто на самом деле он подавил и атаковал он ровно столько же. И где эти попадания точные?
Я вчера в репортаже сказал, что в начале вот этих судейских, ну не Ляпов, я бы даже сказал, вот в предыдущем бою с Хагамяном, да и сейчас.
То, что сейчас происходит, да. Просто кому такой бокс нужен? Взять...
Вот великолепная попадание.
Да, сейчас Бетербиев очень такой... Он почему-то слегка зажат, вот пропустил. Взять Бетербиева. Кто из них сильнее? Ну, конечно, Бетербиев. Почему же Усик не ставил?
Что, если судьи
вот
против тебя, если они будут так считать, надо просто ломать.
Там брал несколько очков.
Ну вот сейчас, конечно, судьи посчитают вовсю. Я сейчас 81 килограмм, а Артур вот стоит тяжелый в 5 очка. Большая, большая. А ты говоришь, что очень сложно это будет. Да, он, конечно, нельзя было.
Хорошо, пусть счет будет равный. Это много. Это очень много. Да, возможно, мы
Потому что Украина, ну, мы знаем этого боксера хорошо.
Несмотря на то, что
были пропущенные удары, а
это вы встречные удары, но обоюдно, но не...
ну, тогда он всего лишь один удар.
Еще. Опять же давайте дождемся счет, потому что мы подчас думаем...
Все
August 5, 2012. London. Olympic Games. Quarterfinal. 91 kilograms division. An Olympic quarterfinal is the moment where a career either turns into legend or remains a what if. Usyk was marching toward gold. Beterbiev was chasing a dream, but once again, Usyk stood in his way. Round 1. Beterbiev tried to bite down immediately. He didn't allow his opponent to build momentum. Usyk avoided turning it into a brawl. Instead, he neutralized moments with footwork and precision. Round 2. Olympic quarterfinals are always tense. Every unnecessary risk can break the fight. Here, Usyk looked like the fighter reading the seconds better. When to engage, when to disengage, when to score and step away. Round 3. Beterbiev pressed forward, knowing he needed to change the picture of the fight. Usyk maintained structure. And that's exactly what Olympic judging rewards: control, cleanliness, and discipline. And the official result, one you can state with confidence. Usyk wins 17-13. After this victory, Usyk moved on, and ultimately captured Olympic gold at London 2012. Final score of the trilogy: Usyk 2, Beterbiev 1. This series shows two truths about boxing at the same time. Power can defeat an early version of a technician. But when a technician grows into championship discipline, he can overcome the pressure fighter, even one at Beterbiev's level, more than once. Beterbiev was a truly elite amateur and a championship-level fighter, reaching the highest stages and, in 2012, losing only at the quarterfinal level.